Nothing brings six different dads lives together like the bond of fatherhood in the wild outdoors. The men appear to be peacefully taking in the scenery while fishing as they stand beside a raging river early in the morning in May 2022 in Oklahoma. The fathers tie their own lures with great care, then throw them into the water while the mist is still present. While some people, like Shepard, have been fishing for decades, others are just starting out. Shepard last went fishing in the rural area of Broken Bow in 1998 with his son Matthew Shepard. But his sense of serenity would be shattered a few months later when Matthew, a 21-year-old college student, was brutally murdered in an anti-gay hate crime that sent shockwaves throughout the globe and cleared the way for comprehensive hate crime laws. It won't take long for viewers of the Netflix documentary Short the Dads to understand that the Six Dads weekend fishing excursion in Oklahoma wasn't about fishing at all. When the men, Shepard, Wayne Maines, Frank Gonzalez, Jose Trujillo, Peter Betts, and Stephen Chicumba, get together around a dinner table later, it becomes even more evident. They start talking about their love, hopes, and anxieties for their kids over a shared waffle breakfast. The 10-minute short film, directed by Luchina Fisher and executive produced by Dwyane Wade, captures the dads' candid and sensitive moments during the journey in an environment of understanding. Amidst the temporary protection from a society where their offspring's civil rights are under threat, they not only talked about their experiences as fathers of LGBTQ children but also explored the true meaning of manhood and fatherhood. The idea for the trip originated in 2020 when Shepard and Maines, who both love the outdoors, discussed taking a fishing trip. Fisher's light bulb went off the moment she heard the outdoorsmen talking about their goals at the LGBTQ Youth Summit hosted by the Human Rights Campaign. There's a reason this film is simply 10 minutes long and not more complicated than necessary, in contrast to other traditional documentaries. Fisher says, "I wanted it to be this fly on the wall when you see them at the table, and then it to be an interior experience when you hear them talking about their own journeys. I adore situations where things seem straightforward but are actually much deeper than they seem." For Chicumba, a widower with 4 children, including his transgender son Hobbs, the latter was in fact the case. He summarizes the effect that being in a room with white men and Hispanic guys from all around the nation had on him as a black man. "It's remarkable." Chicumba discovered that he needed the support of the other fathers to continue on his journey. He had been grappling as a single father for years prior to it, ever since his wife Chanel passed away in 2016. He saw how much of an illusion the idea of a melting pot is in the US, as he had no sense of belonging in the hostile outer world. His isolation hole started to close as he discovered that sense of community. Chicumba also saw the bonding as a way to show the rest of the nation how to distinguish between what's important and foolishness. He states, "We cleave to that because it is evident that what unites us is stronger than what divides us." The realization that we have so much in common is what we took away from that weekend. Holding on to that makes us stronger than being apart. A recurring theme in their conversations was how having trans children made them consider their own childhood and the relationships in their lives. Chicumba claims, "If you ask a Nigerian about my trans son, they're going to tell you that I'm living like an American. What the colonial overlords told us about our identity, I had to relearn. I have to aid my people in unlearning as well." "My mother didn't react well at first," he continued when discussing Hobbs with his family. "She then made an appearance. I didn't initially receive a favorable response from my brother. He hasn't appeared yet. I still have relatives, but I will never reveal my child's identity to them since they won't get it." Shepard and NBA basketball player Wade have both undergone extensive journeys to overcome psychological biases and forgive themselves for previous misdeeds. Moving on is something you have to do, according to Shepard, as opposed to wallowing in the past. In an effort to commemorate his son's life and support the LGBTQ community, he has been working with his parents and wife Judy to establish the Matthew Shepard Foundation ever since his son passed away. According to the resident of Wyoming, there's always that fork in the road. You have two choices: carry on with your life or retreat into self-pity and a pity party that will not help you or those around you. He recalls his initial dismay, saying, "It was one of those things when a kid found out there's no Santa Claus." You ask, wait, what are you saying? I've heard this for a very long time. However, I also have a responsibility to advance things. And that's a part of the journey if that means you're receiving criticism, threats of death, or anything else you receive for defying the current quo. When Chikumba's son first invited him in, his preferred term for the alternative, he experienced a range of emotions, one of which was fear. He remembers, "I trusted what my child was telling me because I knew it was true. My child was telling me things I didn't comprehend, but as soon as he said them, I knew they were true. My task was to rid myself of my ignorance and learn whatever I could in order to walk in that reality beside him." Because of his late wife's principles, who set us all up for success, he was able to rapidly turn his anxiety into action. "She taught me the value of doing that work for my kids when she passed away," he says. "So I'm going to take the machete and go into the wilderness and make a path." Chikumba believes that part of that approach is giving his kids the freedom to have limitless, self-directed lives. Regarding his parenting approach, he states, "My goal has always been to give my children the sense of self that lets them know that anything is possible, irrespective of what any person may think of them. They have been brought up to be global citizens, to embrace humanity's leadership and not consider themselves to be informed solely by their American heritage." Given that Hobbs is getting ready to lead the safety net of the family and attend college the following year, this is extremely relevant. Chikumba recalls a recent father-son discussion in which he urged Hobbs to embrace and safeguard his identity. He is aware of the circumstances surrounding Matthew Shepard's death and knows that his son should not constantly welcome others into his identity. The important thing is to make sure his son has an amazing sense of self. Children's sense of self can alter constantly, and Shepard finds it fascinating to see how kids come to terms with these changes as they get older. The fact that some people want to silence others simply because they are different truly irritates me much. Look around, then. We are all unique. Wade's first wish for Zaya was to follow in his footsteps as a basketball player. The 41-year-old former NBA player discussed how his expectations changed after Zaya came out as transgender while participating in an episode of the Club Shay podcast in September. He continued, saying, "See what happens when you start making plans for other people's lives?" The basketball icon now understands that fatherhood is not going to look the way you ever imagined it in your head. He has 5 children total, including a daughter he has with actress Gabrielle Union. Wade says he's getting better at adjusting for his younger children, son Xavier, 10, and daughter Kavia James, 5, thanks to Zaya, who is now 16 years old. He continues, "Some of them might be exactly like you, and some might be completely the opposite. I now realize that I am not the owner of my children. They belong to me. I have a responsibility, but that doesn't imply I own them. I'm just a vessel that was used to bring them into the world." Like with many of the other dads, he has unavoidably lost friends by letting his kids participate in the process of self-discovery. Instead of seeing something as a loss, Wade sees it as a blessing. Fisher is hoping that the documentary will reach those who may not be inclined to be welcoming of transgender people since they have never met one. "I want this film to reach those who are marginalized, undecided, inquisitive, open to broadening their perspectives, and willing to believe testimonies from those who are experiencing the realities of the front lines," the actress states. She gave the documentary its world premiere at South by Southwest in March of this year. Netflix showed up for a showing the day following the event. "I thought, oh my goodness, something significant is occurring," Fisher laughs as she recounts. "We will now be communicating with the entire world." Regarding her concept, Fisher adds, "The audience wouldn't feel like, oh my God, I have to give up 90 minutes of my day. No, in 10 minutes, you can be changed." Despite this objective, Wade acknowledges that, based on his own experiences, many people lack the capacity of time and energy to learn about new topics unless they have an impact on their personal life. For this reason, he urges new audiences to be open to unforeseen possibilities rather than telling them they should take action. Shepard said he has no shame in sobbing when considering what transpired with Matthew and the current state of affairs regarding LGBTQ youngsters. That is neither improper nor embarrassing. You're still a man and a father, but if you're prepared to exhibit the other side, I think you'll be even more of a man. Chikamba understands the value of setting an example for his kids by being always on, but that doesn't mean he won't allow himself to experience times of vulnerability. In fact, he thinks that sobbing is the ideal state for letting go of his feelings. Get the best of people, from captivating human interest stories to juicy celebrity news, by subscribing to their free daily newsletter. Don't miss a story. Fisher experienced vulnerable times while filming the movie. She remembers how the body of a missing black trans woman was discovered while on the fishing excursion. As the sister of gay siblings and the mother of a trans child, the news hit her hard, and when she entered the kitchen where the dads were preparing to film, they understood instantly that something was wrong. The dads wake up the following morning, eager to say farewell, having spent the previous night cooking marshmallows over an open flame. As they part as a family, the men who came in as strangers are giving each other a pat on the back. However, Fisher assures us that they will return, adding that plans are already on for a second trip that may include a larger contingent of dads. She claims it's not for the movie. It's simply just who they are. The trees that blossom with the first indications of spring appear to match the 6 dads' hope for the future as they leave the river behind and travel back to their homes.